Hello and welcome to Fast Horses. Today we are going to be covering the Pick 6 Carryover to start the week over at Del Mar on Thursday, July 23rd. So let's get started. Where the turf meets the surf. So, as Bing Crosby said, where the turf meets the surf, down at Old Del Mar, that is where we're going to go. And as I mentioned, we're going to start the week off with a Pick 6 carryover. I think they got just over 60,000 there in the Pick 6 pool. So it should be a nice start to the week. We'll see if people are going to be coming in guns blazing for that. What I'm going to do, as I normally do, is I'm going to skip over the Pick 6. I couldn't figure out an affordable ticket for Thursday, so I'm going to play the late Pick 5. And as I've talked about, several times, I like that late Pick 5 on a Pick 6 carryover day. I feel that the pool does get inflated because people do come in with larger sums of money to play that Pick 6. If they get knocked out of that Pick 6 early on, they're going to go into that Pick 5. And the Pick 5 does end up giving us as players an inflated pool and, it creates value for us as horse bettors. So the late Pick 5 pool does start in the fourth race. Fourth race has an approximate post time about 3:30 Pacific, so that's 5:30 here in the Central Time Zone. We're starting out this late Pick 5 with a 5 furlong grass sprint, so that's right there. 5 furlong rails are out at 30 feet. This is a starter allowance race, so these are fillies and mares, starter allowance conditions. I find this race to be it really is going to depend on who draws in. We're going to see. The 9 horse right now is a 7-5 favorite. The horse is also eligible. So I don't know if the horse is going to draw in. We're going to see when scratches happen. That could really change the complexion of the race. But here's what I'm going to go to start the late Pick 5. I'm going to put the 1 horse, who is Jenny's Wine Girl, for Richard Baltus. Edwin Maldonado takes the call. This horse is 7-2 in the program. Jenny's Wine Girl certainly has speed to make herself really prominent in this race. I don't know that she'll get out to the top, but I think she'll, cover her position and keep that rail position, which we've seen is really key in these 5 furlong races. So I don't know that Maldonado's going to shoot for the top, but I think that he'll be right there, keeping himself a good position. And I think this horse will finish up based on the fact that she just came out of a mile race in her last at Santa Anita back in late May, and she was running some mile races at Santa Anita this past winter and spring. So Jenny's Wine Girl can be tough here. I'm going to put the 2 horse, was Butterfly Beach. Now I think Butterfly Beach is going to be the speed of the race. Trained by Neil Drysdale, Joel Rosario on the horse. Now Rosario, he got off to a stumbling start here for the Del Mar summer meeting. He's 1 for 24, so I don't know that anyone had that, on their selection, on their tickets. A lot of tickets hit the ground there at Del Mar over the course of the weekend, with Joel Rosario riding at 4%, because I'm sure he got a lot more action than that. But I think Rosario will pick it up. We all know what a great rider he is and how well he fits in this Southern California jock colony. So I think Butterfly Beach is going to get to the lead, based on her last couple races. She shows some pretty high speed. Now, I know the 6 furlong Santa Anita grass sprints are different than the 5 furlong Del Mar grass sprints, but the way she gets out seems to just has natural speed from the 2-hole. I think Rosario will be pushing her out there, and this field's not overly talented, so she certainly could lead them the whole way at 8-1. We're going to also put the 7 horse. The 7 horse being Unbinding. Unbinding comes in from Mark Glatt, Antonio Fresu. Now, like Joel Rosario, Antonio Fresu came out to a really stumbling start. I don't know who had it on their selection cards. 1 for 20 for Antonio Fresu. So we'll see if Fresu gets it going as well. Now, Unbinding has done a nice job at Del Mar, having 1 win at the 5 furlong sprint distance, and that was last summer, back last August at Del Mar. I thought that she ran a really nice race to break her maiden at 5 furlongs. She ran in a style that really wasn't happening all too much, where she kind of stalked the speed, and then she ended up drawing off. The last time we saw her was back in October at Santa Anita. So something went amiss there, since her last start. But, I don't have a problem when good trainers bringing horses into grass sprints, off layoffs. They've got them ready. She's 3-1 in the program. Unbinding can be tough. And then we will put the favorite, if she does draw in, that's Miss Hellfire, the 9 horse for Mike Pipey, Kazushi Kimura, 7-5 in the program. She really blitzed a field of maiden claimers, just completely outclassed them, had a huge speed figure, won by 13.5 lengths or 13 3/4 lengths at that point. Who's counting? But, we'll see. Maybe it was just her blitzing a really bad field, or maybe she just, they got away with one, putting her in a maiden claiming race, and she's that good. So being by Cert Prance-A-Lot, certainly a turf sprint, should be right up her alley. So we'll put Miss Hellfire, if she does draw in, we will put her in. So we'll have the 1, 2, 7, 9 in the 4th race to start off that late pick 5. All right, now let's move over to the 5th race of the day. 5th race, a 5-furlong dirt sprint. These are state-bred maiden claimers, $50,000. These are 2-year-olds. These are babies, but they're $50,000 claimers. So let's just call them as it is. The connections must not think all that much of them. They're starting these horses out in $50,000 claiming races. We'll see what who ends up coming out of this one. Could be set up for a long shot. I think we saw a long shot over the weekend in one of these kind of races. I'm going to put 4 horses in here. I think one of them should get it done. We'll put the 4 horse who was quick up, George Parabon, trainer, Edwin Maldonado. Now, Parabon certainly, does well with the young ones and, does well with speedy types. Maldonado, we know, is a speed jock. This horse has shown some nice works. Certainly good enough, as a 2-year-old in this type of race to get out and go. That might be as simple as what they need to do. So we'll put the 4 horse quick up. Put the 5 horses, don't short yourself. Don't short yourself. John Sadler trains. Joel Rosario rides. We know they're a great team. They haven't done anything yet at Del Mar. They've had a few chances. It hasn't worked out. But some fast works for this horse. We'll see if Sadler's just giving this one away or if this horse actually has, some ability here to get the job done here. 3-1 on don't sell yourself short. Don't short yourself. Sorry about that. I'm going to put the 7 horse in. I'm no sure thing. No, I don't know that anyone's a sure thing in this race. So certainly well named, the 7 horse. Peter Urton, trainer, Ismael Jaramillo. 7-2 in the program. Jaramillo did some good riding in the latter part of the weekend, to get a few wins. So we all know he's very capable. Maybe he's just getting used to the Del Mar surroundings. I don't know that Ismael had ridden at Del Mar before this last weekend, opening weekend, but we know he's capable. So horse has some decent works, good enough works that could be good enough for this field. So we'll put her in. And then finally we'll put the 8 horse, who was Cool It. Now Cool It has the benefit of a race. Couple changes here. They're putting blinkers on the horse. They're putting the horse from a maiden special weight into a maiden claimer. Ricardo Gonzalez rides the horse. Gonzalez rode the horse last time. Now, really, she didn't show anything. She got out of the gate kind of slow and just kept up that slow pace. So I don't know if they just didn't persevere with her, what the deal was. I'm going to give her a shot off that first, initial go there with the special weights. She's certainly not good enough to go with those, but, maybe the blinker's on. Gonzalez is a hustling rider. Maybe he gets her out going. Nice outside post. She's 12-1. As I mentioned, you do see prices in these kind of races, so we'll see. Maybe that happens there with the 8 horse. Cool It. So we're going to put the 4, 5, 7, 8 in the 5th race. All right, let's go to the 6th race of the day. 6th race, a second level allowance race. They're going 1 mile and a 16th on the grass. And these are fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. As I mentioned, second level allowance. Some nice horses signed on here. I'm going to put 3 horses in. I feel like one of these is going to get it done. I've got the 2 horse was Oaxaca Blessing for Jose D'Angelo. Jose D'Angelo brings this horse in from Gulfstream Park, which that's where he's normally stabled. This horse has done some nice work at Gulfstream on the turf course as well as the synthetic. So they're pointed her for those 2 surfaces. She's on the turf today. Hector Barrios rides. She's shown some good races, especially her race on February 21st. A race like that certainly can get it done here. That was a really nice race, I thought. Oaxaca Blessing can be competitive, with the races that she's run over there and at Gulfstream. Should translate here to the Del Mar turf course. And I'm going to put the 2 Phil D'Amato horses. I'm going to put the 7 horse, who is the White Lady. And White Lady is ridden by Antonio Fresu Fraser rode this horse last time. It was a comeback effort. She was a favorite that day at Santa Anita. That was in early June. She had come off a pretty good layoff, about a 10-month layoff there. She last ran at Del Mar in a mile and a 16th race, non-winner of 1, which she ended up winning. So she does like Del Mar, having won a nice race there. We'll forgive her last time. She got beat by a couple of the horses here that are in this race. I don't know if Baltic Fire is going to draw in or not, but got beat by Baltic Fire and Mi Confencion. I think White Lady probably needed that race. D'Amato's gotten off to a nice start at this Del Mar meet. He and Fraser certainly do nice work, and Phil D'Amato horses are always dangerous on the turf. So the White Lady, 7-2, she's certainly worth putting in. And finally, going to put the 8 horse, who is Canto della Terra. Canto della Terra also for Phil D'Amato. Ricardo Gonzalez on the horse here. Now, Canto della Terra, it's hard to know what she is. I mean, her 2 races in Southern California have both been tremendous efforts. She won first time in the States, coming out of Ireland. She won 6 furlong grass race back in January of 25. Ran a really big race that day, first time off the boat. Got the job done there in a maiden special weight. Something went amiss, had a very long break. She came back just this last June, and she ran a huge race down the hill with Ricardo Gonzalez. So she's 2 for 2. I mean, this might be a really nice performer for the D'Amato barn. They're going to try the 2 turns. I don't think there should be a problem for her running 2 turns. She's shown a nice turn of foot in these sprint races. As we've seen, the 6.5 furlong down the hill races, horses do, those races do translate into 2-turn success, as well as the opposite way. You see 2-turn horses go to that 6.5, they do well. So Canto della Terra has done some really nice work in her 2 starts, even though they were spread out over a good amount of time. She's back here, just over a month between races. We'll see what she can do. We're going to put her in at 4-1. So we'll have the 2, 7, and 8. The 6th race. We're going to go to the 7th race of the day. 7th race, a mile on the dirt. This is a California allowance race, first level allowance with an option for 20,000 claim. I know there's a couple in here for that 20,000 claim tag, and they're going a mile on the dirt. The interesting part of this is they changed the rules in California where, they've made it more possible to run in these California races. So you could have a horse that has won at this level at a sprint distance on the dirt. You could run them back if they haven't won, at a route, and vice versa. So it's just giving options to the California breds to be able to run in more races. Or, as they had changed this several months ago, where you could run on both surfaces. So if you won on the dirt, you could go to the turf and try that too. So just giving options for horses to run. So what it does, it makes it challenging for us as handicappers. So, we have a lot of horses that, have won some races, but we don't know if they'll want to run 2 turns here. So I'm going to put 4 horses in. I think one of these 4 should get it done. I will put the 2 horse was Poker Night at V's. Poker Night at V's comes in for Sean Williams. Sean Williams has done some nice work over the years bringing horses into the Del Mar meet. Now it's escaping me who Sean Williams. He was an assistant to one of the California trainers in years past. Can't remember who it was just offhand. But anyway, familiar with the Southern California circuit. He trains horses in Oaklawn Park, usually in the wintertime. As you see, this horse, the Calbred, was running with open company allowance horses at Oaklawn. Those races are much, much tougher than what he's going to be running against, on Thursday. But they were sprints. So, the question about Poker Night at V's is, does he want to run a route? Now, we did see some route, a little bit of route here. We saw him run a mile and 70 yards at Sam Houston, getting beat on the wire. I don't know how well that race translates to what he's going to be doing on Thursday. But Poker Night at V certainly has some speed, can get out there. My concern is maybe the one gets out with him, which would probably take the steam out of both. But we'll put the 2 horse in. For the pure fact, he's got speed. If he gets an easy lead, it might be tough to beat him. Ricardo Gonzalez on the horse. Gonzalez does have some live mounts. He's 0 for 15, but we'll see. He might be able to get something done here. So we'll put the 2 horse Poker Night at V's. Then I'll put the 5 horse. 5 horse being the GM. GM comes in for Mike Pipey. Armando Ayuso takes the call. Ayuso just won with this horse last time. That was back in late May. That was 2 starts off a layoff, or second start, off the layoff. Now I think the GM has a lot to offer, and I was thinking about singling the GM, but I have a single in the next race. But the GM's 9-2. I think this is a very nice horse. Very lightly raced. Probably has had some problems. Keeping consistent on the track. But when the horse does get to the track, he seems to show a lot of ability. So I don't think there should be a problem with the 2 turns. I think this horse can get a stalking trip, maybe stalk those 2 inside horses and get it done. Ayuso certainly knows this horse. He ran a really nice race last time. At Santa Anita, it was 5.5. We'll see if it translates to 2 turns. But I think the GM will be tough. Going to put the 6 horse, who is Stolen Treasure, from Mark Glatt, Abel Lascano, on the horse. Now this horse, putting this horse in because this is a 2-turn race. I think this horse should probably relish the 2 turns. Has run in the California allowance ranks in the past. I think this horse, I watched a video last couple times this horse ran. That was back in the wintertime at Santa Anita. He just ran some even races. So, maybe there was something there, obviously something, because we hadn't seen this horse since February. But I think this break will do this horse well. This horse might come back fresh at 8-1. I think that the 2 turns will help this horse. We might see this horse storming home. That would be the 6 horse Stolen Treasure. And finally going to put the 8 horse. 8 horse being John Metcalf. John Metcalf comes out of the Craig Lewis barn. Juan Hernandez takes the call. Now, Hernandez has been doing really well. Had a nice start to the meeting. This horse has done, most of his running on the turf, but horse certainly could run on dirt. Has done some nice work on the dirt as well, having a second place finish and a maiden special weight at Del Mar, 2 turns on the dirt. So, the distance shouldn't be a problem. I'm putting this horse in at 8-1 because I think the 2-turn distance will be a help to this horse. We'll see. This horse had been running on turf, so switching back to dirt shouldn't be a problem. And again, I think it's the distance that puts this horse, in as a factor at 8-1. So we're going to put the 2, 5, 6, and 8. That being in the 7th race. All right, let's go to the 8th race of the day. 8th race is the end of the day there at Del Mar, so there'll be a lot of eyes on this race. We'll have this pick 6 paying off. We'll have the late pick 5 paying off, the turf pick 3, and the late pick 3. So a lot of eyes will be on this race. Being a mile on the grass, 2-turn race. These are $25,000 claimers, non-winners of 2, fillies, and mares. And the rails are out at 30 feet. So I do have a single in this race. I studied this race for a while and was trying to just really decipher what to do with this last race. And I just come to the conclusion, these are a lot of horses who just do not like to win. And probably several of these horses will probably never win a race again in their career. And, be that as it may, I end up singling the 6 horse. The 6 horse being Elite Heat for Jan Blacker and Joel Rosario. And, this horse I thought was a really nice race last time that she ran. That was in the middle of June. She ran in a race down the hill, non-winner of 1. She ended up running with Canto Della Terra, who I spoke very nicely of Canto Della Terra a couple races ago. She ran in that same race. She kind of got out to the lead, which she does show speed in most of her races. And, that race was coming off a layoff. I thought she had kind of a rough trip a little bit. She came from the inside of that inside post position, a 2-hole in the down the hill races. Those are a little tough to navigate. I thought she ran with some tough horses, especially the winner. Even the 3rd place horse is a nice sprinter too. So I think Elite Heat's dropping in, finding her friends. I think Dan Blacker does a nice job when he drops horses in, gets realistic. I think the horses run well for him. So to me, it looks like this horse should get the lead. I don't think the 2 turns should be a problem. She's won at 2 turns before. She's run with some better horses in her career. And, I think she's finding her friends at this $25,000 non-2 level. Now, I don't know what's going to become of her after this. I don't know if she'll win races later, but it doesn't really matter. We're looking for her to win on Thursday, cap off this pick 5 for us, with Joel Rosario at 3-1. So I will single the 6 here in the late pick 5. All right, now let's recap the day and recap the bets. Okay, so for Thursday, July 23rd, we're going to play a late pick 5 at Del Mar. The late pick 5 does start in the 4th race. So in the 4th race, we're going to start this off with the 1-2-7-9, with the 4-5-7-8, with the 2-7-8, with the 2-5-6-8, with the 6. Now, if all those horses run, especially in that first leg, if that 9 horse runs, that'll be a $96 ticket. If that horse does scratch, it'll go down to a $72 ticket. So if you want to play it as is, I wish you the best of luck. So that's what I'm going to play. You can always add or subtract to it. You can play the pick 3s within it, play the pick 4 within it. Whatever fits your budget and whatever you decide to do, I wish you the best of luck. Let's wish the folks over at Del Mar a very safe day of racing to start off their week. Let's wish ourselves some great trips. As we know, the trips really can make a difference over at Del Mar in winning and losing races. So as always, I thank you so much for watching Fast Horses today and listening to the picks. If you haven't done so, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. It delivers the content to you. You can always like, dislike, make comments. Make good comments, make bad comments. Whatever you want to do, I promise to respond, and let's create a discussion. So let's get this week started off in a winning way at Del Mar, where the turf meets the surf. Thank you so much for watching Fast Horses today. So that's Del Mar, where the turf meets the surf. We'll be back for more coverage over the weekend.